Hi everybody, and welcome once again as we bring you the latest in Bradley University news, and our special thanks to all of our fans and our donors. We're glad to have you with us. This is a special day because you'll meet a new coach at Bradley University. We're talking to Andrew Carlson. He is the new men's and women's cross country, men's and women's indoor and outdoor track teams. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you, Dave.
Great to have you at Bradley. Yeah. Give us a little bit of a rundown. You're from North Dakota originally, and you're very familiar with Peoria and running. So why don't you give us a brief history of yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota originally. I ran at Fargo South High School and then competed my collegiate career at the University of Minnesota. That's where my familiarity with Peoria and Bradley come in, as they hosted the Midwest region here at Newman Golf Course when I was a fifth year in college. So I have some familiarity with the course and the community, and I was able to win my fifth year on this course, so it's a pretty special place for me. From there, I was the head cross-country coach at North Dakota State University, and during that time we had our first athlete make it to the NCAA championships ever, a Division I cross-country at North Dakota State, and she did it at Newman Golf Course. So it's a pretty special place for me, Peoria and Bradley all together. So
that's for sure. And Bradley was very good that year and wound up going to the NCAA. So there's that sequence there. Did you always want to be a runner?
Yeah, no. I had the American background of when growing up you play all the other sports and you figure out you're not good at all of them, and then you find running. That's how I did it. So I played all the sports through about 8th grade, and I quit everything to go all in on running at the perfect time for me, because now I didn't play long enough where I can assume I would have been better than I was. So when I look back, I'm thinking, I probably would have played in the NBA or gone and played Division I college basketball, but that was never going to happen, Dave. So I'm glad I found running when I did in 8th grade, and quit everything else and went all in.
Tell me about your family.
So just me, my dad, and my sister. My dad lives in Arizona, and my sister has 2 boys and is married and lives in Innsbruck, Austria. And then I'm engaged to Dr. Shannon Peters. She's from Fargo. We're high school sweethearts, graduated Fargo South in 2000 together.
Innsbruck, so you skier?
No, we don't ski. I don't know how she ended up in Innsbruck. She met a guy from Austria when they were studying together at University of Wisconsin-Madison. We're from North Dakota, so there's no hills, so we don't ski. We purposely just stay inside and stay out of the cold. So she's had a bit of a culture shock moving over there, but it's been fun to go visit.
You never played hockey?
No, I never. It's too cold to play hockey in North Dakota. That's the joke. But Minnesota, which is about 5 minutes from where I'm from, very big hockey.
Yeah.
But no, my family was never into hockey. I remember my dad bought me a pair of skates when I was in about 5th grade that looked like they were from about 1946. So I realized then I don't think he was pushing me towards hockey.
So obviously, being at Newman, running, you know about the great tradition here.
Yeah, and that was the biggest reason why Bradley popped off the page for me, is the tradition of excellence they've had here in track and field over a long period of time. Getting to talk to Dr. Reynolds and Brad Chandler and all throughout this process was just like the commitment they have for cross country and track and field is unmatched in places I've been and seen before. So when the athletic director is calling you, talking about the cross country championships for the fall, and the investment they've made, and then in the track into the winter and spring, it was really just an opportunity I could not pass up.
The folks know about recruiting in many sports. This is no different. Sometimes you go internationally. The portal has entered into the whole thing. What are your ideas on recruiting?
Yeah, so Bradley obviously has been an international destination for a long time here as well. That's my goal, is to keep that going. I think having a diverse group from around the world is just an enjoyable experience as a coach and for the student athletes. But ultimately, like, my vision is for Bradley to be the desirable place for any kid in Illinois if they want to stay in state and they want to run at a high level, that they're choosing Bradley. So as we start this process, obviously it's a worldwide search, but I'm a domestic person myself, grew up running in the States. I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on domestic athletes as well. So in our region, when I look at Missouri and Iowa, but Illinois high school running it's hard to compare it with any other state in the country with its depth. It's an unbelievable place to be able to recruit from within the state. So I'm really excited about the prospects of all the student athletes in Illinois.
In the intercollegiate, is run at Detweiler, and that's where the state championship.
Yeah, and I was just out there the other night for the Detweiler at dark. So that's been like the most amazing part of being in Peoria in the short term has been the running community here, just outside of Bradley as well. I went down to the running store one of the first days I was here and just realized like, wow, this is like the nicest running store I've ever been in. And then I went to Detweiler at dark and they had over 2,000 people signed up for a community cross-country race in the summer. So as I was talking to more people, I mean, there's just huge races there. Obviously, the state meet is included, and they get close to 30,000 spectators out at Detweiler for a high school cross-country meet. Illinois is a really special place to be a middle and long distance runner.
You have so much discipline in this sport. Not anyone can do this. You obviously did it. What is your philosophy as far as the beginning of the season and then building up to the Missouri Valley Conference?
Yeah. So the way I approach training is holistic. I always say that. It kind of can make people uncomfortable at times because I always say training never stops. We're not always running, but we're never not training. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, especially with the group that we have coming back this fall. We're dealing with a lot of injuries right now and people having long summer seasons. So the main focus right now is just building them back up. And making sure that we're doing everything right in terms of our nutrition, that we take care of our bodies. And oftentimes in running, the hardest thing to do is to back down. Sometimes, typically runners have this like type A mindset that everything needs to get done perfectly all the time. And it takes a lot of confidence to actually back off. So that's our goal right now, is to build up to the Missouri Valley Conference, get ready at the right time, but make decisions along the way that allow us to stay healthy and progressing towards that goal.
And you're part of many meets where schools from all over the country will compete, and that makes you better. Gives you also a barometer of where you are.
Yeah, and that's been another thing. I mean, I keep going on about this. I can tell you 100 reasons why I'm excited to be at Bradley, but especially our first meet, the Bradley Intercollegiate, which will be at Detweiler, but the second meet on Friday, October 13th, the Bradley Pink Classic, is when we're going to draw teams from all around the country to Peoria. Right. And obviously we're hosting the Midwest region in 2024. So we're going to see a lot of teams, especially next year, want to get on the course to preview it. So that's really an exciting thing for me, is to not only just participate in, but to continue to promote and build high-level competitions right here.
And the other thing that we have kind of in the brand, and that is academics, and that is a real sales item to give to your student athletes.
Yeah, I was just talking to one of the students just before I came up here that I'm meeting for the first time as they come back to campus, and we had that same conversation about having that balance and feeling like you can recruit at a high level because you know the academic standard here is so high. A lot of times we pay lip service to the academic piece while we're trying to build a team or a program. I think Bradley has everything it needs in terms of the support for the program, and then when you leave here, you're leaving with an education that's hard to match. We joke in running that the 10,000 hour rule with Malcolm Gladwell, you commit 10,000 hours to something, you become an expert. In running, you basically get 10,000 hours, and then it's done. It's not like the guitar where you're 80 years old and you pick it up and play it and people are impressed. You get kind of a finite moment of time for these young people. So it's about just going all in on athletics and academics and making this the best experience possible.
And you know this, in being a student athlete yourself at a very high level, the other factor is what you can do for your community, because that makes the experience even that much better and prepares you for life to giving back to people that aren't as fortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that the biggest thing with the student athletes that I've met so far here is how generous they've been with me, trusting of what we're doing. And they just also speak really highly of each other as well, which is always a good sign for a coach to come into. So to your point, I think the student athletes we have currently on the roster are going to leave this place and make the world better wherever they end up.
And family. Family is important because your team is a family in and of itself away from their other family.
Yeah, and that's been probably the most challenging part right away, is oftentimes those relationships are built through the recruiting process or over a long period of time. When you start coaching someone right away, it's kind of an awkward feeling. You're getting to know them, they're getting to know you, and then 5 years, 10 years later, you're at their wedding, or you're at their baby's born and they're sending you a message, and all these things, they take so much time. So that's been kind of a sped up part of this process, is getting to know everyone, because I didn't get the opportunity to recruit them. But it's not just them, it's their families as well. And like you just said, I mean, when they come here, this is their family environment now for the next 4 to 5 years. So we need to make sure that that's a good place. And from what I've seen from Bradley in the first month, I think it's the right spot.
Great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to
Dave.
Bradley University. A very special day to meet a new coach here at Bradley, and giving you some insight as well. As always, we want to thank our fans, our supporters, and our donors for everything that you do in Bradley University. Stay tuned, we've got more. The student athletes, the coaches, you'll hear from them as we continue to prepare for a new school year and a successful one as well.